Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the anime No Game No Life Season 1 and the movie No Game No Life Zero on Netflix. And this was a weird anime for me. I would almost be like, I like the premise of the anime, but there's certain things that occurred through it that I'm just like, kind of made me uncomfortable. I'll be like, that's kind of, I wish that they'd done some things a little bit better. So, we start off the anime and are introduced to this character pair of Sora and Shiro, and their brother and sister, Sora being 18 and Shiro being 11. And together they form this character of Blank, who pretty much can't be beaten any game. And we just see him doing all these things. Hell, they were like controlling 4 characters and beating these characters even though they were cheating. But they are pretty much shut-ins and don't do anything except game. Like, Shiro is pretty much a truant and everything. And it's really weird that they've got like this weird kind of sister complex thing going on where it's just really uncomfortable. I'm just like, ooh, okay, no. But they're doing their thing, and then they get challenged to play this game with this one person, and it's chess, and they beat them together, and it's like, hey, you want to come? you really don't belong in this world, and then they get sucked in by this god of games of this other world, and we learn like all these rules and everything. They're like falling through the sky and all that. We get weird fucking panty shots on the 11-year-old as this is happening, and it's like that's uncomfortable, man. I don't mind fan service, but fan service on an 11-year-old, I'm like, that's fucking no, that's wrong. Why the fuck is that occurring? And it just pops up too often to be ignored. I'm like, why the fuck are you doing that? That's not right, not cool. Stop it. It was just like, But when we're more focusing on their not fucking weird ass relationship, it kind of does an alright kind of thing. As they're trying to figure out what to do in this world, they play games and get like gold and everything. They're figuring out what's going on. They see that there's this tournament going on in this land of Elkia for the new king, and we see this one chick getting really upset over shit, and Sora, of course, starts doing his kind of mind games and everything. But we see that him and Shiro are still kind of like messed up. Like she had lost her clothes and he fucking groped her. Like, god damn it. Stephanie, not Shiro, thank God. And he thought that was the only time he'd get to touch a boob. I'm like, god damn it, you asshole. And the thing is, he pendulum swifts so much between like fucking creepy ass pervy and like badass Jesus kun, Kirito kun kind of shit. I'm like, what the fuck? But he got like kicked out of the hall. He's like, oh god, I'm by myself. And Shiro's like, I can't process without you. I'm like, okay, that's a fucked up kind of relationship. But when they're like actually kind of somewhat healthy, it's like, alright. But Ted had pretty much let them go to kind of like play games and see how it kind of works out. And there's no war, violence. Well, there's like the threat of violence, but like killing is outlawed and everything. There's all these rules. The thing is, you can pretty much cheat if you can get away with it. Like, what the fuck? And that happens a lot in like their strategies as they play. They like pretty much orchestrate it for their own win. And I don't have a problem with that, but the whole issue is, okay, it's got kind of like a One Punch Man dilemma / Goku level dilemma kind of thing going on. More One Punch Man, because One Punch Man, Saitama can beat anybody in one punch. So instead of seeing if he can beat someone, it's if he chooses to fight and how that journey will get, how we'll get to that. Here, Blight can't lose, so if they're fighting together, you know they're gonna win. So that kind of takes that kind of tension away. And the thing is, it's that other pendulum swing. We see him going through like big kind of high stakes game, and it looks like there's no way they can win, and then they just suddenly, everything they've done kind of like saves them out in the end. It's like, okay. So they keep going through. They take over Elkia. Because they start figuring out all the different kinds of stuff with magic. They're trying to like help the people of humanity. They're called by a different name in here, and they just start acquiring different things because in this world, it's essentially like chess. They figure out that there's 16 races, so they're trying to gather all the races so that way they can challenge God and keep playing pretty much and just play. It's like, all right, cool, interesting premise, but you got like all that weird stuff. We've got this Steph chick who I like her character, but it's pretty much split between, I'm going to be generous here and go 40% character and 60% fan service. Now, I don't have a problem with fan service, except when it gets into weird fucking territory like Shiro. I'm like, that ain't cool. Don't do that, because we get one later on where for some reason Sora shoots a gun in a VR world and removes her panties. And I'm like, why the fuck is this happening? And what the fuck is going on? And why does this... Why? It's... Yeah. But with Steph, I'm like, oh, okay. I really like your character stuff. And then it's like a lot of stuff with just fan service. And I'm like, you really need a character that can provide fan service rather than just a thing that does fan service for you. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, alright, she's trying to learn, trying to better herself at playing these games, trying to help the people of Elkia. She's telling all this stuff about like her grandfather and all that, and at first Sora thinks her grandfather was a fucking loser, but finds out that he really wasn't and was trying to play a pretty interesting way to kind of get Elkia into a good position. He's like, oh, okay, this works out. So he starts gathering allies, kind of elf magic, a Flugel, which is kind of like a death angel kind of thing, because he needed information. And the season ends with them fighting the war beasts in a VR game. It's like, okay, cool, and he's pretty much able to take all the territory back from the continent that they had taken, because what they'd been doing was they'd been fighting people in games and then wiping the loser's memory so that way they wouldn't be able to come back and figure out what to do. Very interesting strategy. And it's like, alright, so we got that, and it's pretty much set up for, of course, Sora to try and keep pretty much conquering the world with his sister and then fighting Tet. However, there's no second season yet, and I'm like, okay. Then we get into the movie Zero, which shows what the world was like 6,000 years previously, because we get Tet fighting, playing a game with Izuna, which is one of the War Beast people that they fought in the season at the end. And he tells her the story of like what the whole world was like, and spoiler alert, it was fucking shit. Horrendous, because all the gods were essentially trying to find this like conceptual device that would like present itself to the strongest god and make that god the one true god. So the world was pretty much shit. You get introduced to this character called Riku, who's pretty much the previous incarnation of Sora. And the thing is, I really like Riku's characterization in this movie more than like Sora's, because they don't do a good job of like showing the different depths of Sora. It's more like, here's one aspect, and then suddenly we switch over to another aspect. There's kind of more nuance with Riku. Granted, there's still the weird kind of shit going on, but we see that he was playing with Tet when he was young, because Tet really wasn't a god at that point. It was more kind of like the beginnings of the god of games. But his home pretty much gets destroyed. He sees this Ex Machina, which is a robot kind of thing, which we don't really have much more information on yet. Or at least what was presented in the movie when I was trying to follow along. I'm like, who made that? Alright. But as he's older, he's trying to lead the humans and everything, trying to get information from the dwarf ship that had crashed, and he kind of runs back in. Him and his people, he has to leave one of them behind. And of course, he's got a daughter back at their place, and we see that he has a sister that looks like Steph. So, okay, other incarnation, who is actually the one that Steph's descended from. So, he's pissed off that he keeps killing all these people because of what's going on, because he's just trying to get everybody to survive, and he's like, is it worth losing half of the people for the other half to live? And I really felt for him. I'm like, yeah, that's a shitty world, and he's trying to figure out something to help. He goes to the elf realm, and he sees that the city was pretty much destroyed, but like he's still trying to look around, and the previous ex machina that had watched his village be destroyed, we learned later on, was the reason the village was destroyed. They're fighting a dragon. Comes and like talks about like making your sister a woman and shit, and to procreate with her. I'm like, oh great, it transferred the fuck over on this one, and just wanting the dude to like bang her even though she looks like an 11-year-old. Great, I am uncomfortable again. Shit. But they play a game, and if she wins, she goes with him. If he wins, she goes with him. So she pretty much goes with him. They're able to find her some clothes. She gets into a kind of more respectable, not respectable, but like speech pattern that won't give off the information that she's an ex machina, and her goal is to understand the human heart. She had been kicked off of essentially kind of like the Borg hive mind that she was connected to, and she wants to figure this out. And of course, there's the wacky hijinks of like, oh, is this your bride? I'm like, the fuck? I don't know how old he is, but that girl looks like 11, so why the fuck are you talking about that shit? And then she's like, makes it awkward and says like, oh, I'm the bride and everything like that. I'm like, fucking shit. So they get back into his place, and they're doing the game, figuring out like all the information and all that, and he brings up that all these people have died, listing off all the names, and granted, you would think it sounds kind of stupid because of all the different kind of names that are done, but then you start figuring out as it keeps going on longer and longer that he has lost so many people, and it has fucked him up completely, and he's like fucked up, and she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you sad and everything. And they start trying to figure out what to do. They're like going around, they get into the elven place, and they actually get into a kind of secret elven vault and figure out that's their kind of important magic. And they start figuring out that the gods are pretty much trying to become the one true god. So what Riku's plan is, and of course Shuvi, that's what she names herself. Well, they both kind of name her. They're going to pretty much force an endgame state. They're going to manipulate the other races in the world, use their most powerful weapons to pierce the core, make this thing appear, and fuck up the rest of them, and redo the world. Shades of pretty much Final Fantasy VII and everything in there, and, well, any kind of Final Fantasy thing at all. But I don't really have that much of a problem. It's it's a kind of shit world, and I don't disagree with his plan. And it's interesting that he pretty much brings up the precursors to the rules that Tet enforces on the world eventually when he becomes the one true god. And no killing, no dying kind of thing and all that. It's like, wow, use the ghost. They manipulate all the information. The dwarves get ready to use their E-bombs. The Flugel get ready to use the Heaven Strike because their god is the war god, would be like the strongest one at this point because it's in constant total war. And the elves using their strongest magic. Thing is, Sora's pretty much killing his body to do this, and Shuvi is setting up the things that need to be done, but he's pretty much fucked up. But he also proposes to her, and there is kind of uncomfortableness of like what goes on, but overall I think it lands. I mean, getting past the point that it's... Well, it really kind of makes it creepier when you're going back to the series and you're like, that's them reincarnated as brother and sister when they were kind of like in love in the movie, in the prequel, in their past life. It's just like, oh, fucking weird. It introduces some weird shit going on. Now, granted, their feelings, I'm like, alright, cool. They care deeply for each other, heart to heart wise and all that. And he doesn't care that she's a machine and all that, and she'd live like 890 some more years, and they just work well together. They're soulmates and everything. So there was still some of the like weird fucking aspects. She doesn't do the little sister kind of shit after a certain point, so I'm like, thank God that fucking didn't occur, because that's just what this shit needed. Just And they're like, okay, so they've cemented their bond. And the thing is, he's pretty much dying, but he's going to see this throughout. So he takes a nap. She goes off to finish her stuff, and she gets fucked up by Jabril. It's like, okay. And it's a pretty good fight scene. Seeing them do all their different kind of powers and all that, but Shuvi isn't able to stand up to her because she doesn't have the backing of like her Borg hive mind cube thingy. And the thing is, as it's going on, she is able to reconnect to it because she's able to get the information to him. And they're like, yeah, just hold out for a little bit, and then we'll be good. But Jabril uses pretty much most of her power and depowers herself into like a little kid form. It's like, okay, cool, that's interesting. We didn't see that in the anime season. But it's like, okay, that's good information to know. So she is killed. We see that Riku is able to get everything together. He's pissed off, but Ex Machina, well, he's pissed off inside. He's like, well, what's worth it anymore? Let me just die then. Well, the Ex Machina sends one of their representatives like, yeah, we'll finish this shit out for you. And they're able to get it to occur. And Riku tries to claim the Suniaster, but his arm is being broken down and burned and everything. And then he's like praying to the god of games to take it and make the world a better place. And of course we see that that's how Tet comes into being. Claims it, becomes the one true god, fixes everything. Everyone's like, what the fuck? Okay, cool. And then we are back as Tet and Izuna are finishing their plane and all that. It's like, okay. Interesting. I was more interested in the prequel portion of it because there were the less crazy aspects and it was kind of better pacing and everything, and also kind of a better story. It was kind of tighter and got us kind of into what's going on. Now, granted, I understand that the first season was like had only like 12 episodes or whatnot, and that's the only thing that they had, and it was basically just setup. But even with that, pacing was kind of like, what? And you're kind of like, all right, it just needed to have a little bit of a better flow, where the movie had that kind of better flow, even with the weird shit that happened sometimes in it. At least it felt like it had a better balancing act going on. But I don't know if I'd recommend this anime, because it's got the potential and the premise, but it doesn't really execute on it, and I don't know if they're ever going to finish it. So it would be almost like, why would I get into it? They don't really do that much character development that warrants someone who likes character development to watch it, even passingly. It's not horrendous. It's more of a like, okay, you're gonna have to be okay with some weird fucking shit. Ugh. And even then, you're not really gonna get the best kind of stuff. You're gonna have like a season and a movie, and you're like, is it? So I know I say this a lot with certain anime, but like background noise definitely could work it out. The movie is definitely more enjoyable, I believe. I would definitely recommend the movie more than the anime because of its pacing and even more of the story, and definitely the characters are better fleshed out, mainly Riku and Shuvi, and what their goal is in helping fix the world. So that one I would definitely more recommend, even though it's still got those problematic aspects in it. The anime itself, I'm like, there's probably been better ones done that follow the focus of like a world based on games or like video games or whatnot, so I would recommend other ones, and this as like the end stop. I need something to put on in the background. Yeah. I don't know, this was a weird one. It was strange, and I'm like, okay, if it like does another season or whatnot, I hope it gets better. You kind of see that within the movie, so otherwise I'm like, okay, I'm good. I felt creeped out and everything. I'm okay. You know. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.